Ever wish you had someone to tell you the truth about what it takes to run a successful business and live a fulfilling life? Well, amiguita, you've come to the right place. So grab your favorite cafecito or cocktail, your courage, and let's get to work. I'm Jenna Sabores, a therapist, business strategist, mindset coach for entrepreneurs, and a feisty Latina from Miami. And I'm determined to teach you the exact tools you need to stop settling and start kicking some serious derriere. What do you say? Are you in? Then let's get started. Welcome to Latinas Empowering Latinas podcast. Today, we are in for part 2 with Gaby Rincón. She is a personal financial strategist and a personal finance coach. We had an amazing conversation first time around. I knew it was going to be too many questions and too many things I wanted to cover. So today I want to focus on money scripts. What are they? How are they developed? Can they be changed, and how? I know this much from following you. There's 4 money scripts.
Yes, there are.
And I felt like when I was reading through them, like, oh yeah. Like, I think once you see yours, you're like, oh, oops.
Oh, that's me.
Yes. So talk to me about money scripts. What are they?
Yeah. So the concept of money script is that it's the psychology, the scripts that you have about finances that cause you to manage your money effectively or maybe not so much, right? And these money scripts get developed in childhood. It's based on like what we see, what we experience growing up, what are the examples of money management or maybe lack thereof that we see, and it's these associations that we build. So the first one is going to be like money avoidance, right? It's pretty obvious. You feel like money is maybe bad and you feel like a little unworthy of money, maybe believe that rich people are a little corrupt. You don't like to look at your finances. You don't like to look at your checking account. Maybe you're a little scared. You're like, "Oh, I hope I can actually like pay for this purchase, but like we'll see," right? People who are money avoidant tend to have a hard time budgeting and like sticking to that, oftentimes like overspending. Again, it's kind of in the name. If you're avoiding looking at your finances, how are we going to stick to it if we don't even know that it exists, kind of thing? Money avoidance is pretty common, especially among our community, because money was taboo or money was stressful. And so we can build the like, I don't want to talk about it. Like, I don't want to deal with it. Ignorance is bliss kind of vibes. And
So
then
that's
we
the
have,
first one, right?
that's the first one. Exactly. And then do you want me to just keep going off?
Yes, please.
All right. Okay. So then second, we have money vigilance. With money vigilant people, they're kind of, you can kind of consider them like a little bit of like the opposite. They really believe in saving money. They tend to have anxiety over money, like specifically not having enough. So they might be like super savers kind of thing. And we'll be like, never mind, I don't have to spend, I don't have to spend, I don't have to spend. Kind of really intense, because what if there's an emergency and I need to pay for that? So they're very intense on saving, really kind of watching where they spend their money and how they spend their money. So that excessive like wariness of it can really impact you, because now it's like, have you done anything for joy in the last month, honey? Like, what are you doing for fun? Nothing. I just do, right? It's that anxiety is not healthy either, right? And so that's going to be like money vigilant. And it's interesting that I see a lot of clients, they will be either money avoidant or money vigilant. And the crazy part is that in a lot of couples that I work with, one is money avoidant and the other one is money
Oh, that's
vigilant.
dangerous.
And they're like, it's called like one of them is the, the overspender and one of them is the super saver kind of thing, right? And it's like, all right, I see the like yin and yang, the balance attempt, but like let's see if we can get you guys to
Meet
be a little
halfway.
bit closer
Mhm.
to the middle. Exactly. And then the third one is going to be like money worship. So your idea that like money is happiness, that like money can buy you happiness, and that you really want to increase your income to make sure that you can afford the things that you want. These people can be like a little bit of a compulsive spender. They will usually have like credit card debt because again, they want to they
Live
have that
higher than their
association.
means.
Exactly. They want to have that instant gratification on like, that massage or whatever it is, like it made me happy kind of thing. Or I love the clothes that I bought or whatever it is. But yes, that's money worship. And then finally we have money status. So the whole idea that your identity, your self-worth is tied like to your net worth. And these people might kind of subscribe to like the keeping up with the Joneses effect. Like they might act a little bit wealthier or portray a wealthier lifestyle than they might have. These people, it's interesting, are actually kind of prone to gambling
I can
because
see that because you want
again,
more.
yeah, you want more, you want the high that high risk, high reward, right? That rush of like, hell yeah, I just made so much money. And then at whatever it is, right? You just gambled, you won 10K. And then what are you going to be doing after that? You're probably going to be treating your friends, right? You're going to be buying the bar shots or whatever it is, right?
Mhm.
Again, it's like that money status. You want to be that person that people go to that associate with making it, with the American dream, with like being wealthy and having all that freedom. One of the first activities that I always have people do, and this is like a homework thing, is like take an actual money quiz, like take the actual test, the Klontz money test, right? And this was developed by Dr. Brad Klontz, who did a lot of work within the realm of like psychology, like money psychology specifically. And so you can take this test and then it'll tell you essentially like, oh, you seem to display a lot of factors in money avoidance or in money status and whatever it is. And the thing is that then the client will send me the results essentially. And we're like, okay, now we got something to really talk about. Like, let's talk about where we started. Like, where do we think that this came from? How do you feel money avoidance is coming through in your life? You know, well, I don't remember the last time that I opened my Wells Fargo checking app. Okay, all right. So would you agree? Seems like yes, you know. And again, we always have to come back to effective personal finance is just habit. And we know that habit is psychology. We have to start off with where our current mindset is if we're going to do anything meaningful, you know? Because, okay, let me give you an example of somebody who did not work on their money scripts, who did not work on their money psychology. And unfortunately happens really often. I have a client who has significant credit card debt. Okay. And the credit card debt, which is about 50K, okay, it happened over the span of 2 years. And the part that I think is a little heartbreaking is that 2 years ago, well, so I guess 2.5 years ago, she had received a loan from family to completely wipe out the credit card. It was about 40K. Okay. And so she's like, I was debt free. But then because I was debt free, my balance has increased. Like my, like my spending, like my spending
Credit
limit, like your
score
credit
and
limit,
just
right? Yeah.
access to money.
So exactly. So now all of a sudden, instead of having a credit card with a limit of like 5K, she had a limit with 10K. And that happened to all of them. And so over the span of 2 years, we dug not only the same hole, but an even deeper hole. And that happens so often. Or like the other thing that I see is people will take out a personal loan to consolidate their credit card debt, right? But then guess what? Now you have your personal loan and you have credit cards where you can swipe. And guess what they do? They swipe. And the thing is that we never dealt with the root cause. We were only treating the symptom. We have to treat the root cause. We have to treat like, why are we overspending? Why do we have this feeling? Why do we have this feeling that money is bad or that, money is the end all be all kind of thing? What happens in there? Why do we like having all of the nicest things? What happened in childhood? What happened in your experiences in your life that made you build that association? And how can we start modifying it a bit to put some parameters on there? Does that make sense?
So again, it goes back to like awareness,
Mhm.
having
Absolutely.
insight, getting help. Okay.
Yeah.
Where do these money scripts come from? Where are we
Like,
picking up these habits?
well, where are we picking up these habits? How did we I mean, just like we pick up anything, I feel like a psychologist over here being like, "Have you talked about your inner child before?" Like I'm gonna try to stay in my lane over here. But yeah, like the thing is that how we grow up, the experiences that we see surrounding money, like that is going to be how we build our script. So for example, if money was always really, really like really tight, and I know I have another client, for example, she was telling me that her family had to sometimes choose like which utility bill are we paying this month, and you kind of had to play like that. Okay, so
Shuffle it.
if I pay this one's okay because it won't get turned off until the following month, right? And so you're playing this. I mean, that's a really stressful and chaotic life to be living, right? Because as a child, you're seeing your parents stressed about all these things or your family, and you're hearing these conversations. So guess what association she built? She's super money vigilant. She's like, I need to build my savings account no matter what. It has to be super, super high because if I need something, I need to make sure that I can cover it. And then the second part is if my parents, my family need something, I need to make sure that I can cover it. So we get this kind of like, I don't want to say like role reversal, but like where the child kind of starts
Parentified,
taking
absolutely.
care, yeah, exactly, starts taking care of the parents, right? And I mean, I'm not here to judge. Like I can get it. Like I understand where this happened. But if we can't pour from an empty cup, you can't like just be living your life on the just in case something happens, right? Like waiting for a shoe to drop kind of thing. Something that we work on with her is like, what is something that you love to do and that you don't feel guilty about doing? And like, it's so funny, but she loves going to Wingstop. Like, again, not my life. Like, you go off, honey. I mean, lemon pepper wings are really tasty. Okay. So it's like, so we were just like, okay. So then, like, can you go once a week? Go to Wingstop, right? And we build it for, and then it's all of a sudden like it's okay. She's learning that like it's okay. My savings account is still there. My savings account is still keeping me safe, but I'm also having some fun and actually living for the now, with some parameters. With somebody else, like let's talk about like the opposite like experience, right? Like kind of like the money avoidance, right? It can be from the same experience, right? If money was stressful, like I have a another client, and this one was really humbling because it was really early on for me. She came to me and she's like, more of in an informal way, like, I'm going into college, I'm financially independent, like, I need to figure out how to budget. And so then I was like, okay, so tell me how much do you make, blah, blah, blah. And I just went in like for the facts. It was just like, all right, let's get to it, let's get to it, let's get to it, let's get to it. She shut down and I was just like, don't you want to like do this? Like I wasn't, it wasn't clicking for me. And then starts crying. And I just felt like such a jerk because I was like, oh my God, I didn't think about what it was like before. And I was like, hey, what was money like? When money came up, what was that like? She's like, you can't even imagine the fights that were in my house about money, like how intense it was. Right. And so she became very, very money avoidant because like talking about finances caused huge fights in the home. Right. And so why would that be anything but the worst? Right. It was a huge learning point for me because it's like if I don't make my client feel comfortable discussing about these like really real things, then we can't actually like build on anything. And so we talked about her money avoidance. We talked about like she just gets nervous anytime she opens a statement. Anytime she has to like look about like, oh my God, like how embarrassing. Like I ended up spending, 13.99 on whatever it does. And it's like, let's not sit here and shame ourselves over like small things, over minutia. Like, let's get you to a place where we feel a little bit more comfortable. And so, what I had her do, we didn't start immediately by like, let's go backwards. It's like, let's start from now. So, I want you to just like keep a little money journal. It could just be in, a little note app kind of thing. Like, when you do spend money, like, cool, you went to Starbucks, you spent 687, put it in. Like, I'm just curious, like, what is it like? What are we spending our money like? What do we like to do? And I presented it as like, what do you like to do? Like, what is that thing that keeps you happy? Right. So that little activity was like, okay, well, I found out that I guess I spent like $80 this week on going out to eat food or have snacks. And whatever it was, $50 on something else. And so then it allowed us to then talk about like, do you think this week was pretty normal for you? Like in the weeks before, in the months before, is that normally what you do? I maybe was a little bit better because I knew you were going to be looking. And I was like, okay, that's fair. I was like, do you think that you have the bandwidth? Like, should we look? Should we see what we were spending our money on? And we'll just take like 1 month and see where it kind of went. And again, what you're doing is you're working with your script in a way that still keeps you comfortable. It keeps you from shutting down, but there's still a little piece of vulnerability, right? And you asked like, can your money scripts change? They can, and it's not necessarily that they change. It's more that your displaying of them, because the scores on these are like anything above 3, you display that script, right? They'll change in the sense that it's like a little bit less and a little bit less and a little bit less.
So I have a question. It's just weird, and I have no idea what kind of like assessment I'm thinking of. I've never heard the one that you mentioned, so we have to add that too. But is there like an ideal money script, like a healthy money script? Does that exist?
Yeah, I mean, I think
Okay.
the healthy money script is going to be that you display a couple like some tendencies of all of them, right? If we're gonna be like, it's kind of tough because all of them are not necessarily ideal and they have like ramifications. But I guess at least with money vigilant people, they have a savings account, so they don't necessarily have
I think I understand what you're saying though. So I
yeah,
guess it's like being aware of your money, saving some,
mhm,
enjoying it with balance. So I guess that's
mhm,
what you're saying. They're all extreme versions of something. So if you can like
exactly.
pick up some of the quality traits of each of them, not be
Mhm.
perfect,
Yeah.
but you're kind of like level across the board. I get it.
Exactly, exactly. That's what we're looking for. We're not necessarily looking for like, hell yeah, I'm all money status, right? But we're looking for, okay, I have like some characteristics of all of them. And that's basically what we're working for. Because like the way that the assessment is built is that anything above like a 3 is going to be like, hey, you're displaying these characteristics to a potentially harmful way, right? Harmful idea. And so let's decrease it a little bit so that we kind of balance everything out, you know?
What's the name of the scale again?
The Klontz money, Klontz. It's from Dr. Brad Klontz. If you just look up, like you just Google like money script tests, it comes up. Yeah, it's really great. I find it really insightful.
Is there a
Yeah.
money script that you feel is harder? Is there a type, I don't know what to call it, like a money
Mhm.
script persona that is harder to work through to balance? Or do they each kind of have their own challenges equally?
You know, they definitely all present their challenges, but I'm generalizing here. Okay, so I want to acknowledge that. But I will say that money vigilant people are a little easier to work with because they tend to have the habits of saving. So to the extreme, right? But it's easier to get people to not save so much
I got it. No, that
than
makes
it
sense. And
necessarily is, right?
question, as a therapist, that was an unfair
Yes.
question because I always tell people it's case by case. There's no cookie
Yeah.
cutter. So that's hard. Sorry for putting you on the spot there. So no, but I
No
understand what you're
worries.
saying that for that type of person, they've already kind of have a savings. It's teaching them how to like learn how to enjoy it a little bit more
Exactly.
and
Like
have the
let's
awareness with being without being hyper vigilant. That makes sense. Okay.
exactly. So that makes it a little bit more easier of a ride, I guess, if that makes sense.
Got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Progress becomes a little bit more linear, if that makes sense.
Got it. Got it.
But
Got it.
yeah, I will say most of my clients are really one or two that money avoidance or like money vigilance, right? So
Okay.
overspending, don't want to think about it, or super savers.
Got it. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Okay. So if you want to work with Gabby, I'm going to have you share with us how we can work with you.
Okay.
And additionally, we will put the links on the episode, janessaborges.com/45 to have all of Gabby's information. But Gabby, please, how can people work with you?
Yeah, of course. Like, please, if you're interested in money coaching or in a workshop, or even just you have a question, like send me an email, rpfeducation@gmail.com. DM me on Instagram or TikTok. Again, both RPF Education. You can check out our website, our Google reviews, again, rpfeducation.com. I would just really, really love the opportunity to like support you in answering your question. Like anytime anybody asks me a question on social media, I always take the time to create a personal video for them in response because I want to positively reinforce that you put yourself out there and you ask a money question. And the more that we talk about money, the more comfortable we are asking each other about money, the better it is for all of us as a whole. So
I love it.
please
Thank you
feel free.
so much, Gabby, for joining us today.
Thank you so much. See you next time.
Thank you so much for joining me today. It's always such an honor to speak to you. If you loved today's episode, I would love and be so grateful if you left a review. So let me know what was your greatest takeaway, any aha moments, and how you were inspired. I'd love to give you a shout out in a future episode. Until next time, amiguita.